hello, and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor, Tenkar's Tavern blog. Today, I will be continuing the reading from James Raggi's A Word from the Publisher from Zak Has Nothing to do with this book. This will be part 2. I suspect there will be a part 3 because the fucker wrote a lot. Now, I have not read this prior to this reading. Where I stopped yesterday is where I stopped. So, I'm kind of going into this blind. My reactions, my input, my opinions are mine alone. Okay, I'm going to do my best to make sure when I'm reading from James and when I'm speaking out of my ass. So you know the difference between the two. You don't confuse it. But so far, it's been very interesting. So, I guess you could say, without further ado, we shall continue. From James. If I was still working in the corner of an apartment someone else was paying for, as it was in the old days, I would have told everybody to go pound sand and continued on without taking any action or making any statement, which James could have done because it would not. He wasn't making that much money and he didn't have people working for him. Your responsibilities kick in once you have people working for you. Even today, I find no moral case for not publishing Zak's make-believe, even if every allegation is 100% true, because what he's supposedly done has absolutely no connection or relevance to that work. My reaction was all down to money and being afraid of falling back into hand-to-mouth living, having a business collapse in a mountain of debt, and not wanting to have my health, mental and physical, continue to be shredded by online hate, which is all valid reasons. Back to James. I truly don't know what kind of person Zak really is, but I can tell you he's one hell of a creative talent, and that's all I should ever have to care about when pursuing my life's work. That emphasis was mine, by the way. And even if he is a monster, stopping a bad person from doing any of the good they are able to do does not punish him so much as the rest of the world who loses out. Refusing someone's talent because you want to put them in timeout is pretty much a textbook definition of cutting off your nose to spite your face. Not really a textbook definition, in my opinion, James. You can write it however you want, but I don't see it. Back to James. One can be both a monstrous person and a great artist. That is very true. That is, I'm not even going to quote examples, but yes, there have been some creatives that are pretty much fucking evil, and there's some evil people that you find out they're pretty skilled creatively. I'm not judging here. Back to James. One can be both a monstrous person and a great artist, and they should reap the proper consequences for both separately. There's a problem with that. Because while theoretically I agree with James, the reality is different. Okay? Hypothetically, you are a world-renowned artist, and then you wind up being, a mass murderer, right? You're going to do a Netflix special on you and they interview you and all that stuff. Do you separate the work from the fact that this guy was a homicidal maniac? I don't know if I could. It's an extreme example, but I'm just responding to James there. All right, back to James. But I know there are those of you reading this that are now horrified. How could I for a moment doubt that the allegations are true? My opinion? Remember, I wasn't law enforcement. I did investigations. There was probably enough that in a civil court where a preponderance of the evidence has to be brought up, and that's a 51.49% or 50.1 to 49.9, type of deal. Yeah, I think, you know, depending on how much evidence Zach can build to counteract Mandy's accusations and allegations and whatever evidence she has, I thought that in the civil court, you're probably looking at she might have a case, but in a criminal court, I saw there was no how you can present physical evidence in this, but it would not be beyond a reasonable doubt. That's just my opinion. Back to James. How could I for a moment doubt that the allegations are true? Don't I, as the slogan goes, believe women? Well, after we broke up, my first girlfriend told anyone who would listen that I beat her until she had a miscarriage. And as I write this, I've had to hire a lawyer because a woman is threatening to go public with sexual assault allegations against me unless I pay her monetary demands. I'm sure you won't forgive me for it, but I will retain my right to skepticism in all cases. And even when I believe something, I won't necessarily act like I believe it because there's no way to really know. All right. And assigning moral weight to demographic markers is pretty much raw bigotry in the first place. I don't even know what that means. Maybe it's just me. All right, back to James. But even if we assume that the allegations are true, you might wonder how anyone could want to continue to work with or associate with this man. Well, since he's not being taken into custody, he has to do something to make a living. If not this, then what? And why should he be allowed to do that instead of this? Surely work where he sits home alone, writing and drawing is about a safer thing even the most dangerous person can do. It's all good and well to say there is no place for certain kinds of people, but you all do realize there is no such place called away where all the undesirable people go, right? If they're not going to go through the legal system, and even if they did, they wouldn't be there forever. They must be somewhere. We do actually have to coexist with these people and live among them. I understand what James is saying, and this is like one of those theoretical things, but the reality is, if there is, I don't know, I'm not, I don't have to associate with people that I don't want to associate with, and I don't have to give business to people that I don't want to give business to. And at this point, all I can say is James should be allowed to publish stuff from Zak Smith and let the market decide. And if the market doesn't want to support James because he's supporting Zak, so be it. I don't so much like the idea of the blackballing that happened to Zak with different places saying, let's remove him, which is the coast, remove him like he never existed, write him off, and drive-through stance. But the market, there's a free market. Just, you can't tell me I have to like somebody's work. If I dislike the person for what they've done outside of game creating, I might not want to buy their stuff anymore. That's a free choice. But James should be, in a position where he can publish that if he wanted to, and let the market decide. Just my humble opinion. Back to James. None of this is an attempt to persuade you to change your mind about Zak or convince you to ignore things you don't want to ignore. Nobody's telling you to socialize with the man, online or off, or buy things from people you'd rather not buy from. All right. So I told you, I didn't read this in advance, so I didn't know what James is going to say. Back to James. Oh, who am I kidding? Yes, I am. Get over your damn selves. Oh, well, thank you, James, for being true to you. Back to James. If these allegations against Zak are indeed true, the events alleged were happening during the creation of Vornheim. As an aside, I fucking hate Vornheim. A Red and Pleasant Land. Okay. I actually like A Red and Pleasant Land. And Frostbitten and Mutilated. Don't even know which one that is. I guess I never read it. And the Non-Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Maze of the Blue Medusa. I'm kind of halfway on that one. Long story. Were being created. Again, we're back to James. And I will say again, you lavished all of those books with great sales and tons of votes for awards. Well, not me, but some people did, yes. The allegations may well affect what you think of these books now, but they do not change at all what the books are. To claim otherwise is simply madness. And James has a valid point, but I could say, theoretically, wow, I always wanted to buy Vornheim, but those allegations is against Zak. And Zak is a known dick. This is my personal opinion, by the way. I think he's a dick and an asshole, but he's a skilled creator. And before, I probably would have said, hey, he's a dick and an asshole, but he makes some good stuff and I will pick them up. Now, between the allegations and Zak's responses, I'm not buying anything that Zak is putting out, whether it's published by James or John Smith Publications or anybody. That's my personal feelings. Those are my personal opinions. As a consumer, my listeners, you can do as you want. I know some of you think that, Zak, shit's gold. Maybe he does. I don't feel that way. All right. Back to James. Your opinion about Zak and how your view of him affects your view of his work is only personal. True. All right, I'll take that, James. You have no right to enforce that personal opinion on other people or to judge them if they have another opinion. You know what? There's a slippery slope there, because what James is kind of saying is you don't have a right to enforce that personal opinion on other people. Well, that is true. You can certainly express your personal opinion to other people. And just like you might say Zak is an asshole, I don't want to buy his stuff. Joe Schmo, he's a big fan of Zak and likes all his stuff. Maybe that's not a person that I want to continue socializing with. Those are all personal statements. All right. I understand the backlash that James is talking about here. I understand the outrage brigade part of it, but on a personal level, I'm disagreeing with some of what James is saying. But back to him. You have no right to wipe the work of another human being, past, present, or future, from the face of the earth. You have no right to deny someone else their choice to engage with that work. Trying to do that does make you a bad person, even if the work you're trying to suppress is being made by the worst person on earth. A book of fiction on a shelf hurts no one, even if the byline gives you a great big frowny face. All right. James is, again, I know he's talking against the outrage brigade, but he's talking about, he's fighting against them not as you or I might be offended by them saying, oh, well, if you're friends with so-and-so on Facebook, you have to unfriend them or I'm going to unfriend you type of deal. James is addressing this from the perspective of a publisher. He might not be coming out and saying that. But really what he's saying is if you have an opinion about Zak that's negative, you express that opinion publicly about Zak and the work that Zak does, and it affects James's bottom line, you're a bad person. That's really what I'm taking out of this. And you might take something else out of it, but that's what I'm seeing right there. Okay, that's what I'm saying. All right, we're already at 14 minutes in, 14 and a half. I'm gonna call it. We got one more episode of this. That'll be tomorrow. Okay, so we got another, I guess, a page and a quarter or so left to read. I guess my opinions aren't helping, aren't they? It's slowing things down. As always, folks, thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it. The numbers are good. We got nice listenership. I really appreciate it. The blog itself is just plowing along, man. It's like a beast. So I think everyone that's involved with the tavern, it's just as readers, listeners, commenters, send in voicemails, please. I enjoy it all. I got voicemails I have to get to from stuff prior to this, so we'll get to that, I guess, Sunday. All right, folks. On that note, as always, be safe, be well, God bless. Roll those dice, and I will talk with you all tomorrow. Later, folks.